Hello, this is the second video overviewing the argumentative proctored essay. The last video more focused in on the fact that this is a proctored exam essay that you'll have to submit in a proctor testing center. Also, I mentioned this is a researched essay that you're going to be required to have 3 sources. As I mentioned in the previous message, I do want you to try to use the college databases because they're more credible, and also they give you the publication information, so you can just copy and paste over that into your works cited page. It's faster, makes life easier on you. However, if you can't really find anything or what you're looking for in the databases, you can use, the internet and other websites, but just ensure, again, they're from .edu, .gov, or .org. Websites. If you have any concerns about the credibility, if you find a website and you think it's good but you're not quite sure, you may want to look underneath week 13 in module 2, and letter C is a link to EasyBib, and it gives you kind of an overview of things to look for with credible sources versus those that are non-credible. All right, well, let's continue on. So as I mentioned, you have the handout that overviews your essay. And again, we discussed the fact that you can choose 3 points to overview in your essay's body paragraphs. Again, you don't have to discuss all 10 of these, okay? You can do 3 to 4. That's fine with me. Again, as I mentioned, don't just choose the same topics that you chose for your previous essays. Go beyond that. Hopefully, researching is going to expand your horizon about your occupation, and you can find out some wider implications of why you should go into this particular occupation and why you should encourage other people to go into it as well. Now, I wanted you to notice you do have an outline that you can kind of use as a guide. I'm not requiring you to complete an outline, but you may want to do this before you write your first draft because, again, this essay is worth 25% of your grade. So if you look underneath week 13 under module 1, you'll see it's the second on the list, letter B, the proctored essay outline, and this is the outline right here. Now, again, this is just a guide of how you could set up your essay. Make sure in your introduction you mention the job's full formal title. If you come up with an acronym, that's fine, but make sure you mention the job title first, and then in parentheses, put the acronym in parentheses. Okay, like you're doing physical therapy, you might want to say physical therapy or physical therapist in the first paragraph, and then in parentheses, put capital PT, and then you could use PT for the rest of the essay, which is fine, but use the full title in the introduction. You may want to find from a source a definition of the occupation, especially if it's an occupation that not many people may understand. It's very specified or specialized. You may want to define it, and you can use source to do that. Obviously, the thesis statement is going to be kind of argumentative in tone. Overview why anyone should go into this particular field or profession. Again, you're going to use any of those 10 points that were on the previous handout, and you can discuss those. Now, you're going to notice I have a lot of information here potentially for your body paragraphs. You in no way are necessarily going to discuss all of these different points, but I wanted to give you as many options as possible so you have a lot of ideas about the different points that you can make in your body paragraphs. So kind of look over these. A lot of these are building upon the things that are in the previous handout of potential points that you could discuss, but you may want to use this structure. You don't have to use this structure, but it's a good structure you may want to consider. It has the body paragraphs outlined and then does that all the way to the conclusion. And remember, in your conclusion, really emphasize, again, what are the major advantages or reasons to go into this. And you can also be very credible in showing the reader some disadvantages. Like if someone's going into the medical field and they're going to be a particular type of surgeon or doctor, there's some sacrifices that have to be made. There's long work hours, you don't see family and friends, so you may want to also be very ethical in your argument and reference the disadvantages that are there, but kind of explain that, someone who goes into this particular position or field, they have to weigh those options and maybe do what they think's for the greater good and not just for themselves, okay? So think about that. So again, this outline, don't be too intimidated by it. It's just a guide of the different points that you could discuss, and I hope you find it helpful. Also, as always, you have a student example essay. You've seen some other essays from my former student, Matthew Sellers. If you look underneath week 13 in module 1, the student example is letter C, and this is his essay. Okay, notice he talks about the fact that many people may want to go into physical therapy because, it's an interest of theirs, but maybe they don't have enough money to go to physical therapy school because it takes years and it's expensive. Also, maybe they don't have the time. They need to get into the workforce sooner. So he talks about the fact that a good alternative to physical therapy is kinesiotherapy, which I did not even know what that was until he wrote this paper. He educated me. Now, you're going to notice he overviews in his thesis this as being a good alternative to physical therapy. Now, in his body paragraphs, and I'm just going to kind of point out his points, he has 4 points. The first thing is he talks about the education that's needed for this particular degree, or excuse me, for this degree and for this job. He also goes into the duty, several duties actually later in the paragraph. He later goes into the occupation salary, okay, as well as its job outlook. And he talks about these as the major reasons that someone should go into maybe kinesiotherapy instead of physical therapy, okay? It's not a comparison and contrast essay. It's more, this is a better alternative for those who have financial issues and can't stay in school for really long, okay? So use his essay as a guide. Now, I do want to point out, and I do need to delete something because he made a mistake. He put a source on there twice, okay, which sometimes that happens. He has 4 sources. You do not have to have 4 sources. You can, again, just have 3. Now, I'm not going to penalize you if you have more than 3 sources, but you mandatory have to have 3 sources that you research from. Now, you're going to notice he did not use the databases, which that was his choice, but he, again, he tried the databases first, and he couldn't really find what he couldn't find what he wanted. So he used just online websites. But again, that made more work on him because he had to go to EasyBib and actually create the publication information for his works cited. So just remember, the databases have the advantage that you can just copy and paste your publication information into your works cited, alphabetize them, change the font, make the hanging indentions, and then you can just move on. But if you use the internet websites like Matthew did, you're going to have to structure your works cited on your own, and that can be a little time consuming, which I know it's the end of the semester and not many of you have time, especially if you're taking several classes. So use his essay as a guide. Okay, now I want to go back to our Canvas page. Okay, now this is a researched essay. Now, you did your APA abstract last week. That was APA, American Psychological Association format. That was just one assignment. We were asked by other departments, as I mentioned, to just kind of give you a glimpse of APA, and that's what I did. Now we're back to MLA, Modern Language Association. This is the same structure you use for your other essays. So ensure that when you quote, like word for word, from the source, or you paraphrase, you take information from the text, but you reword it, like with synonyms in your own language. In either case, quoting or paraphrasing, you must give credit to where you found that information. If it's a salary amount, if it's a tuition amount, if it's a job outlook of statistics, percentages, you have to give credit. And I want to ensure you understand how to do that. Look at all these resources that talk about MLA documentation. They will help you in doing that. And as always, if you have questions about that documentation, I will be happy to answer those. All right. So as far as for this week, you need to get started on your argumentative proctored essay. This week's more writing, okay? First, though, you're probably going to have to research, find those good 3 sources that relate to the points you're going to discuss in your body paragraphs, okay? Then start maybe that outline. If you need an outline to get started on a rough draft, work on your rough draft. You are going to have, again, until the first week of December. And that first week of December is pretty much Monday, December 2nd to Wednesday, December 4th. You need to schedule your proctored exam time in that window, okay? And again, if you don't schedule it, I'm not going to accept your essay via email or Canvas. You have to actually be in that setting. And again, if you don't come, you're going to have to actually come physically to our campus, and I'm going to have to supervise, which I know you don't want to have to do that. Again, make sure you schedule that. Have that rough draft ready so you can confidently walk into that proctor testing center and place that rough draft into the text box. Spend that time just revising and be done with the class, because I know many of you are ready to get finished with this Comp 1 class. Please don't walk in okay? And just expect to start writing your essay within those 2 hours. It's going to be really stressful, and you may have high anxiety, and not all of you perform well under that type of pressure. So have a rough draft first, walk into the proctored exam setting, and revise. That's going to be probably the best situation for you. I look forward to reading all your argumentative essays. All your essays this semester have been enjoyable to read, and I cannot wait for y'all to successfully finish this class, and then we can all be happy that we've completed this class together this semester. And I wish y'all all the best of luck with this particular assignment. And email me if you have questions. Thank you.